guys, and welcome to the latest in the Sleepytalk podcast. Today, we're joined by a very special guest. Special to me, not to you. So, the pleasure's all mine. We've got Dan the Plant Man.
Hi.
So Dan's come along today to talk to us about something that you're quite interested in. I wouldn't say you're balls deep in it, but you are quite a reader, aren't you? Quite a reader.
I have a dabble.
He has a dabble.
I have a read.
So, what we're going to be talking about realistically is energy. So on previous podcasts, we've spoken about different types of energy when it comes to the spiritual sense and ghosts and things like that being energy that's left behind. Dan himself, he was talking to me about certain cosmic energies and subtle energies, and was it orgone?
Organ energy,
energy, yeah.
Life force energy, chi,
yeah. Which is it's quite interesting. Obviously, Buddhism, I think, is the correct one. They're always going on about like the inner energies and having a balanced chi and doing right things and trying to not do wrong things to keep a nice balance and
bit yin and yang.
Yeah, bit of yin and yang. So let's talk about life force. So Dan, I'm sure you're rearing to go. You're rearing to give us your energy. So where do you want to start?
Well, I don't know. I guess I've always been open to sort of energies, and my dad's a Reiki healer, and he's kind of quite spiritual. But it all started for me about 7 years ago, really. Sort of when I got deep into a lot of stuff. Just had a bit of a sort of spiritual awakening and learnt about different things, and I guess that's what you call it, a bit of an awakening.
So what made you sort of was it just an epiphany sort of style thing where it just came to you, or
I mean, chance encounter, really. Went for a haircut one day, got talking to somebody, and sort of from then, sort of existing friends that I'd had, obviously spoke to them about it, which never sort of spoke about that kind of stuff before. It kind of just opened up a whole new world, really. It's quite weird because you find that the more people that you meet, and kind of everybody's got a little bit of sort of something in them, sort of spiritual, or they're that way inclined, or they're sort of can't think of the word, but they're
the sort of on the umbrella is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, everybody's got that sort of question, aren't they? That underlying why are we here? And
yeah. So obviously, a lot of people choose religion.
Yep.
They think of a higher being. Some people think of lower beings. So you've got your Satanists and things like that. Which, yeah, bit dark, but everybody's got their own sort of answers to their questions, or at least a faith in an answer to the question. So I'm guessing from what you're describing, yours is sort of energy, really.
Well, yeah, fundamentally, that's where it all kind of comes back to. That's just kind of an expression of a lot of different things. And I mean, I think it's the Chinese that did the sort of chi energy and yin and yang, and you say you've got your Buddhism and Hindus, and pretty much every kind of religion is, in my opinion, kind of a different take of this kind of sort of the history where we came from and why we're here, kind of thing.
Yeah, so obviously energy is something that is proven. It's not something that has just come out of nowhere and people are believing in it.
Yep.
So I imagine maybe like, and I could be wrong, like physicists, people that are very strongly sort of toward the Big Bang Theory and things like that, a
Yep,
massive burst of energy. Um, I myself believe that we are a makeup of stardust.
definitely.
That's definitely just
Cosmic energy.
we've come about very randomly, under right circumstances, and we're just just stardust energy that's piloting a meat shield currently. So I know, and as I've previously said, and on the previous podcast, one of the theories that I like to sort of believe, I don't know if it's believe or whether it's a theory that I'm interested in, is when it comes to spirits and things like that, potentially, if they are real, it is just energy that's just not quite dissipated yet. That if you do the same thing over and over again, day after day, I mean, after this year, mate, this basement's going to be haunted. The amount that I've spent down here, just sat at a desk working during a lockdown.
sounds
When I
like you need to cleanse them energies down
yeah, nah, I want to live forever, bro. Right, so yeah, when I finally kick the bucket, maybe this house that whoever's living here, if it's still here, maybe the basement's haunted and they just hear me talking on a podcast or moaning that I'm still doing work when everybody else is furloughed. So we've gone for like the origin of where you kind of had your enlightenment. What do you remember? What was said to you by this hairdresser? Or
Not really. It kind of went down a different path to start off with, and
okay,
kind of like freedom and rebellion kind of thing,
okay,
which is kind of another story. But it was sort of off the back of that sort of certain things were said, and it's kind of like, do you know, deja vu?
yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of just relates back to sort of, well, energies and spirituality. Sort of different people that I've met have sort of yeah, all kind of had their own views, and yeah, it's quite interesting on that front.
So you mentioned that your dad is a Reiki healer. Now I've had some experience with Reiki when I was a kid, although I genuinely thought it was just foot massages.
Yeah,
So, but there was one bit in this Reiki session that really sort of, it took me down a 50-50 road. And I remember it clear as day. So the woman that was doing it, she was doing the things with my feet. We'll leave that up to the imagination on that one. And she said she was going to do some healing. And she said, imagine there's dolphins in a wave, and they're flowing through your body. And at that point, she put her hands, just her hands. She didn't do anything. She just put her hands on the bottom of my feet, and she says, "Do you feel it?" And as soon as she said, "Do you feel it?" I did sort of have the sensation of rushing sort of water going up my legs and then throughout. So the 50-50 road that I came to with that, and before I say it, I'd love to try it again just to sort of know, or at least have a better understanding of, as an adult, of what it is. But I thought at that point that it was more of a suggestion sort of therapy than it was a energy therapy. Now, as I've gotten older, and I've met certain people that do certain healing, I'll not name any names, but there's some that are close personal friends, close family, things like that are kind of this way inclined. As you said, there's a lot of people that have that sort of understanding, or at least a slight belief or interest in energies and things like that.
Yep.
Is that there's different tiers of sort of people that can, would I say, wield the energy? Is wield a good?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of draws into alternative medicine, really, doesn't it? There's all
Yeah.
different kinds of therapies and different practices, and
Yeah.
they're all sort of fundamentally based on energies within yourself, kind of thing.
And so from my experience with a close personal friend slash family member, naming no names, they never expressed this to me at all up until a few years ago. Nothing at all. Never knew anything about it. And then they just said, "Look, this is blah blah blah. This is my experience," just out of the blue, really. And then they said, put their hands over my arms and said, "Can you feel that?" And I did genuinely feel heat,
Yeah,
like more than what your standard sort of heat from a person would be. And it goes to show that like my 50-50 split is still there, though. You know, when somebody says, "Can you feel that?" That to me sort of, there's a
persuado.
yeah, there's a logical sense in your head, and then there's I wouldn't say illogical, but there's that belief system in your head as well. Our brain does really weird things. So the logical thing in my head is saying they've suggested it, and now I'm feeling it, because that's the brain is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You can heal yourself. Well, not you personally, but people have been known to heal themselves by willing it or staying alive long enough to say goodbye to loved ones, etc., when they should have been dead like days prior. So the sort of the logical sense, it tells me that it's suggestion based, and that is a proven thing. That you can will yourself to feel something, or to heal, or to hold on. And then the other sort of belief sense is like, wow, this is real. This is happening. This person can sort of distribute different types of energy. And it's a really, really, for me anyway, obviously for you, you've had an enlightenment, as you've said. So you're less on the 50-50 split than what I am, on the fence, as I'd say. But it's a really, really difficult and wonderful place to be. It's just, where you're just finding the answer rather than knowing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of my experience with this energy sort of thing. I've probably done it a lot of injustice by calling it an energy thing, but you know what I mean.
Well, that's exactly what it is, really, isn't it? And I say that you've got everything, haven't you? You've got reflexology.
Yep.
That's even down to just massage. Massage is going to do some healing on your body, because it's getting your blood flowing, and like us as human beings, we're like giving out energies, and we've got blood like flowing through us veins, so like electromagnetic energy. You can feel it static when you're jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah.
It's all kind of energies, and it's kind of the spectrum of light, and the frequencies and the waves. Obviously, you can see a certain frequency and you can hear a certain frequency. But then in modern medicine, you've got X-rays and all different energies that are being put in radiation. They're all energies and waves, microwaves being put through, and it's just a different spectrum that you can't see. So
Yeah, it's speaking of like the frequencies and things. Now I can't remember what company did it, but we're not sponsored by them anyway. So maybe in the long run we might get some sponsorships from them. But it's Flare. It's Flare Audio. Not sponsored. Can't sort of guarantee this is the thing that it says it does. But there was a lot of comments saying that the Karma earplugs, what they had, it distorts and sort of calms down certain frequencies.
right, Sounds interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of people that had it were saying that their tinnitus was gone. And there was certain things that basically the calmer was just to reduce sort of stress noises. Certain frequencies do stress you out, and that can be car frequencies, like the noise from a car. So as you know, like I am a big sort of hobbyist when it comes to cars, and I like the loud noises and I like the engine sounds. The whereas when you see a 1.2 liter Fiesta with a rattle can exhaust, it sounds horrible. So those sort of frequencies to me stress me out because obviously I don't like them. Whereas with I'm not showboating my car or anything. I've got a nice 3 liter straight six engine that just sounds really phenomenal to me. It sounds amazing. Whereas I guess to you, Dan, you probably don't like it.
You can hear you coming. You can hear you coming.
But it's not like a overbearing Fiesta rattle can exhaust, though, is it?
No.
It's like a low rumble. Then, let's not.
It's a low frequency emission.
Yeah. So anyway, these earplugs are meant to sort of stop this sort of sound and thing, and the actual. I'm gonna find some of the reviews on it, and I'll stick them above us right now. But there were some really good things that were going on with it. I can't remember exactly what they were, but I know there was tinnitus was one. And there were a few other things that they genuinely didn't think would help. Like it was just to reduce stress noises, but it ended up doing a lot more than just that.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to try them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not sponsored, so we're not saying go out and buy them. But just when Dan mentioned frequencies, it just popped into my head. A wonderful thing.
Then you've got sound healing.
Yeah.
So that's quite a big thing. I've always been intrigued with it, and I've obviously researched it, but it's not something that I've ever sort of had. But definitely heard a lot of good things, a lot of reviews about it.
Well, I mean, they use sound for torture, so surely they should use certain sounds for healing.
Yeah.
And we all know that like music in its own sort of sense is probably the greatest invention humanity's ever come up with.
Definitely, yeah. Music is the answer.
Yeah. And there's music for everyone. Like, and being a DJ, Dan's music isn't for me. But yeah, no, you're an advocate for music anyway, so I'm surprised
Definitely.
that you haven't sort of done musical healing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. I've been to Glastonbury, talking about energies and ley lines. It's kind of famous place that's you can definitely feel the energies when you go down there. A lot of sound healers down there, but yeah, it's not something that I've been able to sample yet.
Do you think that's maybe why Glastonbury is such a sort of, obviously we're going to go into the ley lines like now, but do you think that's why Glastonbury is such a popular sort of festival? It's just because of the energies that are there. Like they're obviously positive energies, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, at sort of any festival, you get that, but Glastonbury, I think, with the history of it and where it is as well, it's that's another thing. I've never been, but definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah,
I want to try that definitely.
So what are these ley lines then for? As in a nutshell?
So in a nutshell, do you know, like have you ever heard of meridians? And we've got like an aura in sort of our human body, and that's kind of like the Earth's version of that. Obviously, the Earth's like a living being kind of thing. That's kind of, it's a bit hard to explain, But
So the Earth, in essence, we know that it's got an electromagnetic field. We know that it's got a huge ball of iron that spins around in the center,
Yep.
which creates energy from it. It's then surrounded by molten rock because of all the heat and friction and stuff. And then obviously it provides like soil, and when you see a volcano, the aftermath of a volcano is horrific, but then all of a sudden you've got these plants that can grow incredibly fast because of the rich nutrients that is there. Hawaii is a huge example. Hawaii didn't exist until a volcano erupted, and then now it's just completely full of life. So, I mean, that I don't know whether tectonic plates are like and fault lines that sort of coincide with these ley lines that you're talking about.
I think that's it. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it seems to be there's a lot of nutrients, at least minerals and rocks and things that can grow certain plants and provide habitats for certain animals and things after an
Yeah.
eruption, things like that. So,
And I think that comes into another kind of energy or kind of alternate therapy, sort of crystal healing. So that's kind of another subject or sort of medicine that people are quite skeptical of. I kind of, when I think of how to explain and sort of rationalize and put an answer to it, that everything that's living is sort of vibrating on a frequency. Crystals are just vibrating on different frequencies, and you can prove that in like the quartz crystals that sort of do the time. They vibrate on a certain frequency. They're all made sort of through volcanoes and the massive energy of the heat released, and yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, they go into sort of like back to a natural sense. The diamonds and things like and crystals. They do believe that in the actual molten rock that surrounds underneath the Earth's crust, there are pockets like dead space in there, and they believe that is just rock that's not malted, but obviously on the inside of it, it's just full of crystals, full of diamonds,
and gold, and
yeah, certain different elements that have been able to withstand and survive. Obviously, the massive energy that's on the outside. But we are all on a frequency anyway. That's been proven. You know, we have electrons that whiz round our nucleus, with protons attached. You know, we are moving. When something's heated up, it vibrates a lot more viciously, and that's where you get the heat energy from.
And then it changes form.
Yeah. So I can see. I am skeptical on crystal healing, but then I look at different certain rocks and things. You know, you've got certain rocks that are radioactive.
Yep.
And if you have them on you, you can like mutate your own cells and get cancer and
Massive
things
energies.
like that. Yeah. So I mean, it's not a far stretch to believe that something. I don't know. Healing for me, maybe not for me, but I think maybe a more calming environment. So if it's at a lower frequency than you are when you're stressed, maybe it can soothe you. I mean, there's lots of different things that are out there to de-stress you. Stress balls being one. You exert a lot of energy, you get a little bit more tired, and you sort of center yourself. So I don't know whether that's anything to do with what we're talking about, but
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the law of attraction, isn't it? The positive energy and the negative energy. That's another thing that I'm sort of quite a big believer of.
yeah.
If you think positively and you kind of everything you do is good and on a higher vibration, everything's going to be good. if you sort of negative thinking, everything starts to go a little bit bad. Definitely karma and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, well, we're karma's a stretch for me. Karma's a big stretch. I genuinely don't. Karma's one of them, mate. For me, it's you. I think that's a belief. That's something that you'd like to happen to bad people, but there's so many bad people that are in positions of power, like, you know what I mean, and they never seem to get the comeuppance.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely like thinking positively. It is an effort to think positively, especially from the year that we've had.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of people that have gone through so much hardship this year. I count myself very lucky to sort of be where I am during this sort of crisis. I'm definitely not as bad as a lot of other people. Probably not even close. So, yet I'm still thinking negatively. It's.
I think we all do, even if you try and think positively, especially with what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like with the yin and the yang. Obviously, it can't all be good. It can't all be bad. It's kind of a bit of a mix. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to go out properly soon and mix and stuff.
Do you think? So here's one that kind of just popped into my head. So with the amount of people, globally, really, that are thinking negatively, do you think that makes it more difficult for people to think positively because there's negative energy in the air? We'll say.
Definitely, yeah. It's like a collective evolution kind of thing, and there's certain events where people go out and meditate, and everybody meditates at the same time, and it's kind of trying to raise the vibration of Earth, basically. So there's a lot of people out there that kind of do that.
So yeah, the only sort of like throwback I'll sort of say to that is the sort of population of animals around us seems to have improved dramatically since we've been locked up.
Oh yeah, I mean the skies were blue and everything last year, weren't they?
I mean, look at Venice. Venice had dolphins going back into it. You know, they could see the floor, rather than being all trudged up from all the boats that are going in and out and things like that. You know, they had wildlife came back in and sort of reclaimed certain things. We had more bears and things going into certain cities. We had more like foxes around here. Like I saw so many foxes and badgers when we were in lockdown that were in concrete streets and things like that. You know, it's sort of like at least we know when we're gone, everything will just tick on by, and you know it'll be a little bit better. So, do you think, in that sense, then, do you think that the energies and frequencies are specific per species?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, dolphins communicate through like a different frequency, and you've got animals that haven't even got eyes, so they're not seeing the light frequencies to get around. They're using some other detection method, and it's all on frequencies, whether it's heat or, well, anything really.
Yeah. So just because there's negative, so this would sort of tie back to you saying about the meditating to sort of sort the Earth's vibrations. Really, to me, from what we've just discussed, that would make no sort of change at all. Because if the frequencies are specific to us, they wouldn't be specific to the Earth, as you said, which is a living being.
Yeah, but I think then that ties back to this universal life force energy. So everything in the universe is connected, and we are one kind of thing. Obviously, we're all separate, but we're all kind of interconnected. And then that's kind of going on to another level where it's at a conscious level. So the world as we see it is like it's in our own conscious. So even if we're only raising our own vibration, we're like raising our consciousness. Collectively, I think the power that has, it's amazing, really. But obviously, people working in 9 to 5 jobs in the rat race and living life, it kind of distracts a lot of people from a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole rat race thing is well, it's corporatism, isn't it? It's well, that took a deep, dark turn. I was thinking positively, and now you've just got me back on negative. But no, definitely. Well, I mean, we're lucky. We're lucky in the whole corporate sense. I think, anyway. As much as we are on the 9 to 5 and we are plugging away, I don't think it's for us anyway. Especially, I don't think we're even close to as bad as a lot of other people.
Yeah.
We're talking like cubicle after cubicle after cubicle after 100 other cubicles in an office, like inputting data just to make somebody else some money. Like, that's got to be rough, and that's going to have such a negative spin, especially on like energies and things like that. How many depleted people do you see?
And when they're traveling to the work, they may be commuting an hour, 2 hours each way.
Yeah.
They're stuck on a train with people that are in the same kind of rut, and kind of it rubs off, doesn't it? I mean, if you're around somebody and somebody laughs, it makes you laugh. It raises your vibration. There's got to be some kind of other explanation for that than you've seen somebody laugh, so it makes you laugh.
So it's almost like energy pollution. I was just thinking of people being on the train and just like a black smog sort of like hanging over everybody.
Yeah, noise pollution. You've got smog from the carbon dioxide and stuff.
I was just thinking about the energy, really, like thinking negatively and things like that. If everyone's going to the same cubicle that they're going to be depleted at. I mean, I have I have had a job where it was almost like that, where there was like hundreds of us on a floor, and there were 3 floors, so there was like 250 people per floor, and going into the building, it'd take me an age to get out of my car to go into this building to start work, because it was just so negative, and I was so anxious and sort of angry at the fact that that's where my life was at that point. And knowing that as soon as I went into this building and started my work, I was going to be stressed out. I remember I had bought a smartwatch just to sort of like see the heart rate, because I was getting back into my fitness a bit more and going back to rugby and things like that. And I noticed when I was outside, my heart rate was hitting like 65, 70 for normal resting heart rate, you know. As soon as I sat down at my desk, it was in the hundreds.
Yeah.
It's like instantly.
You're anxious and...
But everybody else was the same. There was only a few people in there that were like quite happy with where they were and what they were doing. I could count them on one hand only, of the people that like genuinely thoroughly enjoyed the actual experience where they were. So maybe they're just I don't know, energy redundant, or they just have different frequencies.
Yeah, we are quite lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
Another sort of energy frequency kind of thing you might be interested in, actually, binaural beats. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but
sounds like a plant.
So basically, sound frequencies and obviously music and stuff you can hear vibrates on certain frequency.
Mm-hmm.
What binaural beats does, and sort of how you use them. So you have a pair of headphones in, and you're listening to certain sounds in one ear, certain
Mm-hmm.
sounds in the other ear, and the two are sort of on a different frequency range, and that kind of triggers something internally in your brain, which induces lucid dreaming, and can
Okay.
also sort of do other things with your brain.
It doesn't
Um,
sound appealing.
it's quite good. Kind of like sound healing, in effect.
Okay.
But not kind of sound healing like as you imagine with a bowl and somebody making a noise that way. It's kind of like something you'd listen to if you're having a massage, or if you were like in the bath chilling out with some sort of meditation music on.
Mm.
It's kind of them sounds, but because of this frequency thing, there's something what it triggers in your brain. Definitely, yeah, interesting.
I might have to try that, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's
Um,
definitely good. I know your sleep paralysis thing. That's kind of the opposite of that. So
yeah,
you can kind of trigger your brain to do things while you're asleep.
it's weird. That's weird. Yeah, the sleep paralysis thing. Don't please don't. I haven't had it in like many years now. The fact that I genuinely can't remember the last time I had that, but cheers for bringing it up again. Appreciate it. So there was we've gone through a few different well, we've touched up on the energy sort of thing. I think we've talked a bit about it. Obviously, I'd love to have you back for a specific sort of energy type. If you come back, you know,
Yeah,
if you want to go deep into it. But there was one thing that you did mention to me prior to the podcast, and it was a certain person. Now, to me, I mean, it's a juicy topic, but it is going down a conspiracy route, isn't it?
it is a little bit. Yeah. So
So why don't you start, and I'll strap in and I'll listen.
so well, basically through looking at various energies and sort of healing things, and came across this little sort of pyramid. Don't know if you've ever seen them before, but they're sort of got like little metal filings in, and a coil and bits of crystal, and sort of I don't know what like the acrylic what is it called now?
I don't know, but I'll get a picture up above us for the actual podcast.
But yeah, they basically you can use them for clearing energies in the air. You can put them next to plants, and it'll sort of help plants grow a lot quicker.
Like an air diffuser.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah, but basically, I've stumbled across this guy called Wilhelm Reich. I think it's pronounced some
Hmm.
German guy back in, I don't know, the early 1900s or something. But he basically did some books and some research on this organ energy, which is sort of around the theories of like life force energy and our sort of sexual energy, and sort
Oh,
of
wow.
quite well, I think he did quite a lot of studies that were controversial, and I think he wrote a book called like The Sexual Revolution. He was doing a lot of therapies with sort of sexual stuff, and anyway, he also did um, something called a cloud buster. So he basically got these like metal prongs, and they were sort of in the water, and he was basically saying that he could make it rain with this device that he'd got through the energies that it emit. He also had some, can't remember what it was called now, and quite freakily, really. So I basically ordered a book off of Amazon. It never got delivered. Said that it was damaged sort of beyond repair, and there were no other copies like in existence. and I think a lot of his work were destroyed by the FBI,
Okay.
to do with basically this cloud busting and the way that energies sort of work to heal people. And he had this like contraption that was a big iron box that you sat in, and it sort of did something with the energies. And yeah, quite controversial. And I think the FBI sort of discredited a lot of his work and put some stuff out there, but by the sounds of it, it's all because he was researching this stuff to do with the energies.
Hmm.
And say that the book never arrived, and I've never been able to find another copy since, which is quite weird.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research on him, and he escaped the Nazis to New York in 1939. He coined the term orgone or orgon from orgasm or organism for a biological energy that he discovered. So that'll go from his sort of sexual healing.
Yep.
Um, and he started building these accumulators, so he called
That,
devices that patients sat inside to
that's the
harness,
one,
yeah, the reputed health benefits. Um, he he led sort of things about sex boxes that cured cancer.
yeah.
So I mean, already from like reading this out, he's not had a good start, has he?
No,
You know,
definitely not.
and I'm not going to be trying these either.
Yeah.
But he had two critical articles about him from the New Republic and Harper's in 1947, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Don't know why they'd be dealing with sex objects, but you know, I'm not in the US, so maybe they do. They obtained an injunction against the interstate shipment of these accumulators and the literature,
Yep.
believing they were dealing with a fraud of the first magnitude. So basically, just mis-selling things. He was charged with contempt in 1956 for having violated the injunction, and Reich was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. And in that summer, over 6 tons of his publications were burned
Yep.
by the order of the court. And he died in prison of heart failure just over a year later, days before he was due to apply for parole. So this is a weird one for me.
What
And
did he
this,
know? What did he know?
well, it's not even that. The main thing for me is mainly for the fact that courts and legal systems and etc think that and it's sort of like a flip of the coin for me, because certain things should never be released unpublished, and certain things are just like you're making a martyr out of somebody here. So he was releasing things about, like, you know, a sex toy that can cure cancer effectively. I mean, from the outset, I mean, it could be something that completely works. It could
Yep.
be something that like 100% works. But from the outset of the article that I've just read, which I appreciate is probably biased as hell, um, he had a sex toy that he claimed could cure cancer. Just as you know, that from the premise that's it.
I can see why
Um,
you think that.
yeah, obviously, I 100% understand that the article that I've read could be biased and is trying to make it sound like that and push a narrative. 100% get that, and it could be something completely different to what actually happened. Um, and you know, but the thing that winds me up more than anything is the fact that his books were burned.
Yep.
So, and I'm not relating this to any of the things that happened in World War II and what the Nazis did. Obviously, scum of the earth people, um, horrific fucking things. But I'm not going to go down that route. But you know, when you flee a country due to people doing horrific things like burning books and murdering people, etc., etc., you go to another country and they incarcerate you. Obviously, he broke the law. Effectively, he was charged with contempt, so he carried on distributing his things. even though he was told not to. Fair enough, you know. But then to burn his books, to burn his literature, is a bit of a stretch. Like, for me, like, you know, you could literally, he's already had a publication against him, saying a couple of articles, against him that said that he's a lunatic and it don't work. And they've been very critical of his works. So leave it at that. Leave it at that. If you're going to ban his sales of things, okay, that's fine. You know, if they're deemed not okay to be distributed to the public, that's fine. You know, that's why we have these governing bodies anyway. But it's the burning the books that kind of wind me up a little bit on this one.
Yeah,
you know?
It's been happened a lot back through history, though, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah. So his history is written by the victor, though, isn't it? So if you get rid of I know obviously he wasn't a conqueror or anything like that, but the fact that his publications, all his life's work were burned, like he's kind of. I mean, stop it from being sold if you want to, but destroying it, really? Like, getting rid of that. I can't speak for yours, mate. I can't speak for, because this happened like 40, 50 years ago that this stuff was burnt. So obviously your book being on Amazon probably wasn't part of that, but
yeah,
it is a bit, the censorship is a little bit questionable, to say the least. You know. So, anything else on Wilhelm? Really?
We'll say probably might be a little bit more if I actually got the book. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he got arrested by the FBI and they tried to fit him up for quite a lot of things.
Yeah. What's
yeah.
weird though is that he, I'm just reading now, is that he met Sigmund Freud. So if people aren't aware of Freud was a psychologist, but he was into sexology. So he was a little bit of a weird guy, but in psychological terms, his theories can't be disproved. A lot of people think they're nonsense, but the fact that they can't be disproved means that they can't actually get rid of the publication of stuff. It's really, really weird. But he used to think that to do with like the sexology that he was part of and things. I'm pretty sure, if I remember from years ago when I was studying it, he said that men wanted to climb back into their mother's wombs, and that was their fetish sort of thing, which is really, really,
That's
really
wrong.
disgusting. Yeah,
that's wrong.
It's jank as hell. But yeah, that's the sort of person that he was, and the fact that Reich met with him kind of, for me, kind of discredits him a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he's.
But how is it in violation of the Food and the Drug Act?
I don't know whether the Food and the Drug Act. I was going to make a joke then about things that go in your mouth, but we'll leave that one there. I don't know whether the US Food and Drug Act is sort of comes under the same sort of thing. I'll put above if it does. So if they regulate sort of like sex toys and things like that. Taking a weird turn on this podcast, but I'll stick it above if I find the answer, which I should be able to find the answer. But either way, but yeah, no, I think for me anyway, I think we've touched on quite a lot of different energies. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say, Dan.
Stay positive.
Have you made your Instagram yet? Dan the Plant Man.
No, not yet. Still growing. But,
still growing.
Yeah.
So, is that when you started gardening?
More or less, I think. Yeah.
Your enlightenment that made you plant some stuff.
In fact, I got the allotment a couple of years ago. This was about 6 years ago, but Yeah, that's another story.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dan.
No
It's
worries.
been a pleasure. I'd love to get you on again for a more in depth sort of discussion on certain things,
Yeah.
certain energies and things. Comment below if there's anything that you think we've missed that Dan might be interested in. I'm sure he is definitely one of those that's a reader of different things. So yeah, comment below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I don't really have anywhere to send you to see Dan's stuff, so maybe we should get that sorted. But realistically, his hobbies include reading this sort of thing and planting vegetables. So think positively. So yeah, once again, thank you for joining us, Dan. Thank you guys at home for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.